It's train time, starting now, right after this small intro.
In compliance with COPA, this video is not for children under the age of 14. Viewer discretion is advised. Sponsored by Canadian Model Railroad.ca and by donations from patrons like you. Further support provided by Miniprints.ca. Make your layout come alive with the 3D creation of Miniprint.ca. And now on with the show with your hosts, Peter and Joe.
Well, Peter, what time it is?
It's train time.
Episode number 28.
28, yes.
Which is April 2022.
Yes. We didn't do March.
Yeah, what happened to 27?
You were out of commission.
Yeah, I was. I was pretty hard at that point to publish a video when you're in the hospital.
Yes.
Well, anyway, that episode 27 will be published later on with probably some different content than usual.
Yep.
Because that would be more like a how-to video.
Yep.
But today, we're going to Peter's.
Yes.
And
a little visit to my N-scale layout at home.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And it's really how you can do street and sidewalk and so on. So it's another method.
I'm trying something new. Where my downtown area is on my N scale, I've got a footprint that I'll build off the layout and then set it in place when it's all complete. So.
Yeah, you're doing it on bench.
Yep.
And then set it up, which is a good idea because it's quite intensive as far as the downtown is concerned.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of detail to do.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, without any further ado, let's go check Peter's and his methods to do the street and the sidewalk.
Okay, this is March 16th, 2022, and just an update on my N-scale layout at home. We're looking at the footprint for my downtown or business area, and what you're looking at right here is these are the different building sites on this footprint. I've already started to do the road paving here, and I also have sidewalk sections like this that will end up going in along the roadway in front of the buildings. So, and what I'm using for the pavement is this ready mix concrete patch. So what I've done, and I'll just lower the camera a bit so that you can see a little better. I've just started to do the pavement. So here is an intersection that will be coming from the residential area. Right here, this road goes to a bridge that crosses the river over here. This is one of the main streets that I've already started to pave, and then as you can see, these have numbers and a description of the different buildings that'll be going in there. And then as I showed you, I have these little sidewalk sections that'll be going where I have it all marked here, and then we'll finish it off. So that's kind of where we are as of today, and we are just starting to do the pavement. Once this pavement dries, it'll be sanded, and any touch-ups will have to be done to the road surface. But that's the plan. And then the buildings that will be going, this one in particular, this site right here is a bank building, and this is the bank building here. And what I've done with all of the buildings is the interior is, it's all been painted black and partitioned off by floor and floor sections. So each floor has its own set of lighting. That's what the wires and that. So each building on here will also be lighted. Some will have, as this one will have 2 separate control switches, because once the bank closes and the lights go off, the apartments above it would still be on. So that's the start of my downtown area. I hope to continue for a while. This has been my winter project, and all the holes are drilled for the individual building for the wires to go underneath, and I'll carry on with the paving and show you that as I progress along. You can see along here, this has all been paved, and once it's dry, I'll be able to sand it down. So, okay, some of the materials that I'm using, of course, I'm using the cement patch ready mixed. These are some of the tools that I use. This old dinner knife, and then different palette knives and stuff. So, and I also have a spray bottle of water, and I use that because this is very much like doing real concrete. It's easier to spread when it's wet. So I use my dinner knife and just kind of butter on a bunch of the material and work it around. I don't need much because you have to remember that I'm putting sidewalk sections, and they're not extremely thick styrene, so you don't want the roadway too high so that it's above the sidewalks. So I like to use my metal knife because it works much better at spreading once I kind of glob it on. And I try to follow my lines that I've marked out where the sidewalks go. And I just keep spreading it. And occasionally I have to give it a little spray of water because that helps it spread, just like real cement, concrete. And I just try to stay color within the lines, you might say. I don't want to go over my lines where the sidewalks are going to go too much, because then you've got to do a lot of trimming and stuff. But this stuff is really workable in that even after it's kind of set up and is at the dry enough stage where you can sand, you can still trim it with a knife or an X-Acto knife, box cutter type knife, or like what I use is my dinner knife. I just give it another little spray to keep that kind of flow going, and I try to spread it out as evenly as I can, because even though you can sand it once it kind of sets up, it is kind of hard. but it is still sandable. So I just keep working it like that and try and get it all evened out very nicely, like so. Just keep working it, spreading it along where you want the roadway to be. And then once I'm satisfied with how it is, I just keep going section by section until it's complete. So it does take a little bit of working, and right here is kind of an entrance to a park, so there's no curbing or sidewalk there, so I have to kind of slope the pavement down to next to nothing. The other thing you have to consider is manholes, and there's two ways of doing it. On the other section, I'll go back and show you. I waited till it was set up, and I made my manholes by using a hand punch, you know, for making holes for binders. It's a little oversized for N scale because it gives me scale size 3-foot manhole covers, and most manhole covers I don't think are 3 feet. But I didn't worry too much about it being that much out of scale. So anyways, you can see as I'm spreading this along, it levels out really well. Now you can see I've gone over the lines a little bit, so I'll just take this kind of edger and just push it back just so I can see where those lines are, and use my palette knife to just level that off a bit. Okay. And then we'll go along this side and do the same thing. Just push this back a little bit to find my sidewalk markings. And like I said, right here is going to be an entrance to a park, so the pavement is kind of sloped down. So just smooth that out a bit. Another shot of water, that always helps. We can just smooth that all the way. So, manhole covers. Now, what I used was 020 styrene, plain styrene, and I used a punch like this to punch out these manhole covers that I then painted, and you can see the two little dots on them maybe that are the holes in the manhole covers to remove them. And the two methods of putting the manhole covers into your pavement, and you can see there's one spot right here and another spot here for manhole cover. So you can, when the pavement is still wet, you can take one of these manhole covers, and I'll just kind of demonstrate on the surface here. You put it on the wet surface and then use some kind of tool to just push it down, the end of your X-Acto knife, and just push it down into the wet pavement material. Once it's in there, you can carefully, remove it with your X-Acto knife, pick it out, and you end up with this type of indent. The other option is when it's dry, you can place your manhole cover mark around it with a pencil, take it out of the way, and then take your X-Acto knife and cut that piece of pavement out, and then your manhole cover will just pop back in whenever you're finished all the sanding and stuff, because you would have to remove the manhole cover when you're sanding, and then once you've got the sanding done to the point that you like it, then you can replace your manhole cover. So that's a couple of ways of putting manhole covers in. These manhole covers are a little big scale wise, because the punch that I used is actually gives about almost a 3-foot diameter manhole cover. So once you've got all your pavement done where it's at the point where you're satisfied with it, with sanding and stuff, I have to go back and do a number of light coats, because there's some spots that have little bigger dents and stuff in them. Over in this area here, I'll have to go back and give another coat, because it's not quite smooth enough. It's a little too rough. The other thing I have to do as well is, as I'm doing this, I have to think, I want to do surface repair. Have a street gang working on the surface. And I do have one spot in mind. If I just turn the camera here and tilt it up, right where this building is going here, there's renovations being done on the building that's going right here. So when I do this street here, pave it, I'm thinking somewhere in the front of this building that's got a renovation going on is where I'll put in a street repair crew. So I got to keep those kinds of things in mind when I'm planning out my roadways. So that's kind of basically what I'm doing with my downtown. As I said, I've got to go over and give some top coats to some spots that are still a little rough, but this cement patch is, to me, is really a good way to go. And then these are my sidewalk sections that get put into place, and I have different colors that I'll be weathering and stuff, of course, but that's all strips of sidewalk that I'll be installing after the road's done, and then move on. Okay, so carrying on with the paving, my layout being N scale, I found that even with the final sanding and light wet coats of the patch, the surface was still a little rough for what I thought for N scale. So what I did is I got some drywall compound, and I've just mixed in some black dry powder paint to get this gray compound. And I did a little experiment earlier and just spread this on top as a top coat. So I'll just show you what I do here. I just spread this out, and I don't worry about, I didn't mix the paint really thoroughly in the compound, because as you can see, when I put it on, I get these kind of unique blackish streaks through the compound, so that when it's dry, you actually have a nice variation in it looks like pavement. It's got some built-in shading to it, that is kind of special. And so I'll just match up all of this. And I just spread it out and I'm just doing a thin top coat, which I will sand after it's dry. And I've already experimented on some of the road surfaces, so I kind of have an idea of how it'll turn out. I will have to go back and replace my manhole covers as to where they go, but you know, as you can see it, even in the spreading of it like this, it actually has its own built-in shading, which is kind of special. So I do that, and this is after I've done a first coat of the patch, and then I do a watered down top coat of the patch and sand in between, and then this will be the final top coat, is this drywall compound that is dyed. So that kind of gives you an idea of how I progress with my paved streets. So if you want to try the method, be my guest. As I said, I've done some experimenting as I go along, and that's all part of modeling, right? Is we try different things and methods, and we kind of have to just do some experimenting.
Well, Peter, in that series of video in there, you explained pretty well how you're doing that method.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's something new that I'm trying.
Yeah,
So.
we tried that with that products on the module for the Reeves Junction.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's a very good way to do the road.
Yep. Yep.
Because they look very natural.
I did find, like I mentioned in the videos, that I did find that patch material was very coarse even after sanding.
Yeah.
So that's why I did that top coat of the colored compound. It just gave it a little better surface.
Yeah, a color compound and even just a compound itself has many applications in building a layout.
Yep.
Now, folks, let's go see the photo of the month. it's now time to talk about the Miniprint review. And the first item I like to show you is the trailer. This is a horse trailer that Bernard Hélène has 3D printed. Now it's all painted and detailed, and if you notice, all the inside of the trailers have been done. Now you probably wonder why is no door. The doors are here. And the reason why they're here is when we build the scene on the CMR, we'll decide if the door should be shut or open. And that's the reason why they're still on their sport. So if we open the door, we'll paint the inside of the door like the inside of the trailer. So that's a very beautiful little piece that have been done by Miniprint.com. I like to follow in the review with the canoe. Now this guy here is doing some portage with his canoe, and all the inside of the canoe has been painted in detail, and so is the little men that bring it up, even with the backpack that he's got in here. So this is a beautiful little piece. It requires a lot of patience to paint, just as much as the trailer. Now the men with the canoe came up with a dog. Now I was trying to achieve a German Shepherd, but unfortunately I came out with a Malinois, which is the same. So Fred there's got his Malinois that follow him in all his adventure. Then we have a very old type of plow, a manual plow. As you can see, if you can see that, it's being painted according to the color of what it should be. If you have seen one in the past, many residents have some of those right on their front lawn as the decorations. We'll follow with the wheelbarrow. This wheelbarrow is painted, totally painted, with an orange kind of a bucket, and definitely the wheels are kind of a steel, and the tire is black, and so on. So that's the type of wheelbarrow that you will need in your garden. That's a very nice little model, very well done, with a lot of details. Following that, we have Dixie the horse. Now this horse is a horse that do jumps and so on, and that is the horse of the wife of Bernard. Now the horse itself will stand, and beside we have Bernard's wife. I will show you a little closer. That is all painted, and she's dressed as an English saddle rider, and on the scene she would be taking care of the horse itself, you know. So that was one of the scan that been done. I think it's the third scan that he has done of somebody. The first one was Lionel Strang. The second one was his first employee, and I will show you that guy right away. That guy worked for Bernard, and he has been 3D scan, and he goes with a very special feature. If I put him in here and you want to stand up right now, that would be great. And as you can see, there's a barrel in there, and the barrel contains a fire. I don't know if you can see the fire inside of the barrel. So the scene is Barry warming his hands on the top of the barrel. In our CMR layout, Barry would be on the homeless camp. The next thing that being done by our friend Bernard, it's still on its support, but you have in there 12 milk can. I paint them, and the only thing I will do now when I need them, I will take them out of their sport and do a little bit of sanding underneath, and they will be ready to go where I want them to go. Some of the mini print now will come from time to time with their sport. Now this here is a very little stove. I will show you a little closer. That's an old cast iron stove. You can have them in a caboose, or you can have them in a cabin. And now the same light that is inside of the barrel, inside of this you have a smaller little flame, and you can use the same electric connections to have the fire that you can see from the open door of the stove. This little model is very, very well built, you know, and it definitely will add some interest on many different scenes. The two next items that I like to show you is just two regular garbage cans. Now you can do them when you paint them aluminum, or you can put some aluminum and some rust into it. That would be the perfect complement for any alleyways that you may want to have. Another item that came in February was the Love Dove. Now they have been painted also, and those dove are like the love sign, which was kind of a nice models, you know, that you can put on the lakes or a pond somewhere around on your layout. Here I bring you here now a black bear. It's a small one, a younger one. All have been painted, as you can see. That bear can sit somewhere where you got kind of a clearing in your layout. Would be a nice complement, or you can go after Frank. Now this here is a bigger bear, and is a brown bear that been painted. Now you have to remember that Miniprint.com send all those 3D print through the box of the month, or you can purchase them on their store at Miniprint.com. They all come unpainted. You can also follow a course on how to paint them from Bernard on his website. Now, I do paint them a different way that Bernard does. I do prime them first because I find that it's easier when they are primed to apply the other colors. I use just acrylic paint that you will find at Walmart or at Michael's or any place where they send the craft paints. After the initial painting of the models, then I use some powder to kind of age them or make them to look more natural, as that trailer, as you can see, even on the inside has been painted and then has been weathered, and you got a little bit of color of straw on the bottom and so on. So every models, I like to paint them inside and out, regardless if we decide that the door should be closed or not. The model would be painted. As far as the maintenance and how to clean them, they come in, they're already ready to paint. So from time to time I make sure that there's no flash or any sport remaining on the models, and then I will eliminate those by a very, very gentle sanding, and then start the painting process and store them till at that point we make the scene that need to be done. So as you can see, is beautiful models done by miniprint.com, and I invite you to go and visit the webpage of Bernard at miniprint.com. So that's it for this review, and hoping that you get some of those beautiful models to make your layout come alive.
Ever wanted to take a nostalgic trip back to the steam era? Through the Window of a Train is the book for you. Or go back into history with the Memory of the Moonlight specials. Through the Window of a Train for $19.95, or Memory of the Moonlight specials for $21.95, or 4 limited time offers. You can get both books signed for only $39.95 plus shipping. Order now.
These view from above and
the
photo
photos,
of the month is I just love it.
always good to watch.
Yep.
Yep.
Nice part about the CMR up there is
We're running.
we are running all over the place. All the districts are working as they should.
Yeah. You've got the control boards all done.
All of them.
Yep.
We had a little snag with the accessory line.
Yes, we discovered we hadn't run an accessory line over to the Winnipeg side in Thunder Bay, so
But that is done.
we had to string that. Yeah.
The track crew has done a lot of tweaking.
Yes, they've been testing the trackage and doing little tweaks where we've had some problems with especially 6-axle locomotives.
Yes. Now they got only Winnipeg to test.
Yep. They've got
And
the sidings and the main lines through Winnipeg to test and give the okay on. And you, of course, were very busy doing all the control boards. So we have a control board in the yards in Montreal. We have a control board at on the short line in Quebec in Jean Cove.
And then we got the dual control boards that has multiple function, contrary to the other control board, because we have in there also a PX1 on the Thunder Bay side, which would be especially for the steel mill.
For the steel mill that's going in the back corner, yeah.
Right. And in there, we got UP5 right in the board, which
Right.
is not on the other boards.
Right, yep.
That's make it a little bit different,
Mhm.
but we got a side that is Thunder Bay, we got a side that is Winnipeg, and the both of them are totally separate because they got to come the power from different lines.
Yep. And we've done all the on-off switches for all the sidings at Winnipeg and Thunder
Right.
Bay.
All the tortoise are installed
Yeah.
for the one who have to be installed right now. When we do the steel mill, then, well, that's different story. It's
Yep.
a bunch of them who's got to go there because it's not really accessible.
Yep.
At the stage that we are right now, Peter, is telling us it's time to start to really think about sceneries.
Our sceneries, yep.
You know, we are on the stage right now where we also thinking about a revamp of the backdrop, and is a few idea that are going around right now.
Yes, we've been talking to a friend that does some artistry. She's done some paintings and stuff, and she's on board to help us with doing the backdrops.
Yes, and the medium that we'll be using in there will be styrene.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and is it 0.030 styrene that will be glued right up to the backdrop with the painted scene. So through that exercise, we'll think a little more about what we really want as far as the backdrop is concerned for the different scene that will come in. One of the rough scene that would be made personally right off the hop would be Quebec, and would be also the Rockies.
Yes.
So that the Rockies would be pretty extensive as far as the construction of it and the finishing of it.
Yep.
So by starting it, it will give a new level on what that area should be, which is 44 feet of it.
Yeah.
change that been made for the short line. The short line used to go underneath of the yards in Montreal, and then coming in up to the short line. Well, you know, if you cannot access
Accessibility, yes.
tracks, even for cleanup, don't put it there.
Yep.
So the change that we made is now is the trains got to leave the yards in Winnipeg and go into Main 1, and from there it will switch with the switch that we got in there into the short line.
Yep.
Now that switch had to be absolutely perfect, because that switch would be within the mountain there.
Yep.
And for that is a system of lights that indicate on number 1 a locomotive going to go to the yards. If she got a red light in there, got to stop the train, because it would be a green light on the short line, and vice versa. If it's a red light on the short line, then at that point the true way would be on Main 1.
Yeah.
And that would be right at the tunnel portal.
Yep.
So that is a change per se, but which one is better? The fact that the switch is inside of the mountain is accessible.
Mm-hmm.
So we can clean it, we can
Yes.
fix it or whatsoever. And the track crew did a very good job of making sure that that switch in particular
Is functioning properly, yeah.
So we're good on that aspect.
Yep. As we progress along with our plans, we find that we have to tweak it here and there just to make it a little better operational wise, or scenery wise, or whatever. So don't feel bad on your home layout if you have to your original plan may have to be altered slightly as you go along. So.
Well, sometimes the plan itself, the beginning plan, is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But as you're building the different industries to make it prototypical in some ways to operations, you realize, well, maybe I should add this or I should subtract that.
Mm-hmm.
That's the right time to do it, because you want to do it before you do the scenery.
Mm-hmm.
Because after the scenery is in, it's a whole lot harder to do.
Yes.
But on the other hand, is no first plan that is perfect. Even after you run operation on your layout, you will realize that it's some of the area of your operation that got to be tweaked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always also based on how many people will operate
Yes.
during your sessions.
Mm-hmm.
In here, we operate with 4 operators.
Four of us, yeah.
We're not saying that we will not have guest operator come in, because it might happen, but it would be very difficult for them to operate on the CMR layout, because there's so many things that you got to learn.
Yep.
And even us right now, we're still learning the layout by itself, and we build it.
Well, even like you said with our track gang, tweaking the lines, we've even got some areas where they're saying that, we're going to have speed limit restrictions, even though and it's over like trestle bridges and stuff like that. But that's not too far off the norm, because like Tony was saying, when he was operating for CP in the mountains, there were areas where you had very slow speed limits.
Oh, yeah.
So our layout is prototypical in that sense, where you've got speed restrictions in certain spots.
There's one place that is on a very low speed all along is on the short line.
Yes.
A short line is a minimum speed in there, and not just when you get in, it's through the whole.
Yes.
You know, you run the whole short line, you're on a speed reduction right there, because how many short line that you will see locomotives going at 50 or 60 mile an hour?
No.
It's not really prototypical.
No.
It's not necessarily just the train on a model railroad.
No.
You got cars, you got buildings, you got sceneries, you got a ton of things in there, and you have to make them complement each other.
It's the story that goes along behind the railroad.
Yes, you can have a video that show you in areas, and then you can have the same video that bring you the story of that areas, and that's when it start to become very interesting. The CMR up there has got a long story. Precisely a book in there where you got people in there and so on, because you want to have it look active. So anyway, folks, that's a little bit of our take as far as modeling is concerned.
Yes.
Is many different ways of doing a layout, as we know. Each one have a preference, be it time periods or just running the train around, or doing operation, or just having nice sceneries.
And don't be afraid to try different techniques.
Oh, absolutely.
There's, in my downtown area, it's like a whole new way of doing something. So, don't be afraid to try something.
Well, the fact is no matter how old we are and how long we have been in model railroading, every day we learn something new. And a lot of time, the modeler will not try new techniques. I call that modeler's fears, because you're scared of how it will come out. Well, if it doesn't come out nice, it's no big deal, because you can redo it.
You just,
You know,
take a scraper and scrape the plaster off or whatever.
There's nothing impossible in there.
Yep.
So I guess, Peter, will tell our guests to watch us on episode 29 next month.
Yes, keep watching. Send your comments in. We look at them, and it helps us get ideas for the show. So
we might have a month or two again this year's that it would be later publishing, because it's surgery coming pretty soon on my side. I don't know exactly when.
here's the floor manager.
So, hello, floor manager. How are you? Yeah, she's tell us that we have done our time. And folks, have a great month, great modeling.
Happy modeling, yes.
Yeah, and see you in episode 29.
Take care.